A man is stopped by the police around 2 a.m. and is asked where he is going at this time of night. The man replies, "I am on my way to attend a lecture about gambling, hookers, alcohol abuse, and the effects it has on the human body, as well as smoking and staying out late." The officer then asks, "Really? Who is giving that lecture at this time of night?" The man replies, "My wife." A monkey was smoking weed in the jungle. So this monkey was smoking weed in the jungle, sitting up, way up high in this tree, just getting high. He was toking away when this little lizard came wandering up near him. "Hey, monkey, what are you doing way up in that tree?" the lizard asked. "Oh, not much, really," the monkey replied. "Just smoking some weed, getting high up on this branch that I'm sitting upon way up in this tree." "Smoking some weed, huh?" the lizard inquired. "I've never smoked weed before. Mind if I come join you?" "Well, how about you climb this tree right here and join me? We can smoke some weed and get high and stuff," the monkey said as he took another hit. So the lizard climbed the tree all the way to the branch where the monkey sat. The lizard sat beside the monkey and began partaking in the sweet green that was offered up to him. "Man, I'm getting so high right now," said the lizard. "I'm just so high right now. I've never smoked weed before. The colors of the jungle are so beautiful." "Yeah, man," replied the monkey. "This is so nice right here with nature and all the things we can see. The river in the background and its gentle hum. The birds and how they flap their wings, everything. Isn't it beautiful?" The lizard shook his head in agreement. "This is nice," he said. "But I tell you, I sure do have cotton mouth. I really could use a drink of water right about now. I'm just so high." "Yep," the monkey said as he took another hit. "How about you go down to the river and get a drink of water? It's right over there." The monkey pointed. "Get a nice drink, then come back and we can sit and enjoy this evening way up high in this tree getting high." The lizard made his way down the tree and headed toward the river. He got there and leaned in and started drinking his water. He drank so much water, just leaning in and drinking all the water he could. As he was drinking his water, he fell into the river. He began just splashing around, trying to make his way to the edge. He wanted to go and smoke more weed with the monkey. Just then, an alligator came swimming up to him. "What are you doing in the waters, lizard?" the alligator asked. "You know it's not safe for you to be in these waters. What are you doing here?" I was just smoking some weed with the tree up in the monkey," the lizard replied, jumbling over his words. "Relax," said the alligator. "You were smoking weed with the monkey in the tree? Where?" "Up in that tree over there," the monkey pointed. "Way up, all high up on that branch." The alligator climbed up out of the river and made his way over to where the monkey was. "Hey, monkey! What are you doing up in that tree?" The monkey looked down, frantic. "Jesus Christ, how much water did you drink?" A woman takes her 18-year-old daughter to the doctor. Doctor: "Okay, Mrs. O'Hara, what's the problem?" Mom: "It's my daughter, Bernadette. She keeps getting these crazy food cravings. She's putting on weight, and most mornings she's sick." The doctor gives Bernadette a thorough exam, then turns to the mother and says, "Well, I don't know how to tell you this, but your Bernadette is pregnant. About 4 months would be my estimate." Mom: "Pregnant? She can't be. She's never even been left alone with a man. Have you, Bernadette?" Bernadette: "No, Mother, I've never even kissed a man." The doctor walks over to the window and stares out. About 5 minutes pass. Mom: "Is something wrong out there, doctor?" Doctor: "No, not at all. It's just that the last time anything like this happened, a star appeared in the east, and 3 wise men came over the hill. I'll be damned if I'm going to miss it this time." A married couple is cruising down the highway at 40 miles per hour. The husband is behind the wheel, calm and focused. Out of nowhere, the wife says, After 20 years, I want a divorce. He doesn't flinch, just nudges the speed up to 45 miles per hour. She continues, and don't try to stop me. I've been seeing your best friend. And let's just say he knows what he's doing. The speed crept to 55 miles per hour. I want the house, she demands. 60 miles per hour. I'm taking the car, too. 65 miles per hour. Oh, and I'm draining the bank accounts and taking the boat. The car slowly drifts toward the concrete side barrier. Panicked now, she blurts out, "Don't you want anything?" The husband finally speaks. "Nope. I've got everything I need." She scoffs. "Oh, really? And what's that?" He grins, eyes still on the road. "I've got the airbag." A sweet, silver-haired lady calls her neighbor and says, "Please come help me. I have this killer jigsaw puzzle and can't figure out how to get started." The neighbor asks, "What's it supposed to be when it's done?" She replies, "According to the picture on the box, it's a tiger." He comes over, studies the pieces spread across the table, looks at the box, and says gently, "First of all, no matter what we do, we're not going to be able to make anything resembling a tiger." He takes her hand and adds, "Secondly, let's have a nice cup of tea, and then we'll put all the Frosties back in the box." A drunk biker gets up from the bar and heads to the bathroom. A few minutes later, a loud scream comes from inside. Then a second scream echoes through the bar. The bartender finally goes in to check. "Why are you yelling in here? You're scaring everyone." The drunk biker says, "I'm just sitting here on the toilet, and every time I flush, something comes up and squeezes me." The bartender opens the door, looks in, and says, "Buddy, you're sitting on the mop bucket." Pat, his wife, and their 9-year-old son went shopping in Dublin for the first time. Pat had never been to Dublin and always lived in the countryside. Pat and his son were totally amazed by nearly everything they saw. But it was a shiny silver wall that opened and closed magically that really got their attention. The boy asked his father, "Pat, what is this, Dad?" Pat, who had never seen an elevator before, responded, "Son, I have never seen anything like this in my life. I have no clue what it is." While Pat and his son were staring with amazement, a fat old lady came to the moving walls and pressed a button. The walls opened, and the lady got between them and got into a small room. The walls magically closed, and the boy and his father watched in amazement as the small numbers above the wall lit up sequentially. They continued to watch until it reached the last number, and the numbers began to light in reverse order. The door opened, and a young blonde stepped out. Pat, not taking his eyes off the young woman, said quietly to his son, "Go get your mother." At the annual biker rally, Hank strutted in like he owned the place. His leather vest squeaked with every step, and he adjusted his sunglasses even though it was cloudy. He puffed out his chest and announced to a group of younger riders, "I've been riding since helmets were optional, gas was 30 cents a gallon, and bikers actually fixed their own bikes with duct tape." The young riders clapped politely, but Doris, standing beside him with her arms crossed, leaned in and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "He's also been grumpy since rotary phones, but no one brags about that." The crowd erupted in laughter. Hank waved his hand like he was swatting a fly. "Don't listen to her. Back in my day, we didn't ride for fun. We rode for freedom." Doris smirked. "And now you ride for gas station hot dogs and a nap before 8 p.m. Trying to win back the crowd, Hank marched to his Harley. "Watch and learn, rookies. This is what real thunder sounds like." He twisted the throttle with all the swagger of a rock star, but instead of thunder, the Harley sputtered, coughed, and backfired like a popcorn machine, and then died in total silence. For a moment, you could hear crickets. Doris patted his shoulder and said sweetly, "Don't worry, Hank. Your Harley just learned your trick. Loud, dramatic, and then out of energy." The whole rally howled with laughter, some even pulling out their phones to record. Red in the face, Hank muttered, Next year I'm coming alone. Doris winked at the crowd. Good, that means I get the credit card and you get the bus. The crowd roared even louder, and poor Hank had no choice but to bow like a comedian who'd just been roasted at his own show. Mildred was the self-appointed church gossip and moral monitor, always poking her nose where it didn't belong. Most people didn't approve of her behavior, but they stayed quiet to avoid the drama. But one day, she went too far. She accused Frank, a new church member, of being an alcoholic after seeing his old truck parked outside the town's only bar. She loudly told others, "Everyone seeing that truck there will know what he's doing." Frank, a quiet man, didn't argue. He didn't say a word. He just walked away. That evening, Frank drove his truck to Mildred's house, parked it out front, walked home, and left it there all night. You have to love Frank. A prostitute walks into a judge's chamber. Looking clearly a case of physical assault, the judge gave her a seat and asks, "Dear, you look battered. What happened?" She replied, "I was with one of my clients. We had a really good time and then he thrashed me like this." The judge asked her to explain what happened with all the bits and details of the night, and she goes like this. "He drove me to his apartment and we talked for some time, and then he started kissing me." The judge moves up to her and gives her a passionate kiss. "Was it like this?" He asked. "Yes, exactly," she said with incitement. She goes on. "Then he took off my top." The judge takes her top off and says, "Like this?" "Yes," she goes on. "Then he took off my bra and panties," the judge asks while taking her underclothes off. "Was it like this?" "Yes," she replies. "And then he sucked on my breasts for some time." The judge excitingly starts sucking her tits and says, "Was it like this?" She, getting in the mood to do it now, exclaims, "Oh yes, exactly like this, and then he ate me down there." The judge, moving down, asks, "Did he do it like this?" "Yes, exactly like this," she moans, "and then he f***ed me so good like none had done before." The judge puts his dick in her, and they have a steamy and passionate sex for 10 minutes. The judge says exhausted, "Was it like this?" "Yes," she replies. The judge goes, "I don't understand what's the problem here. Why did he beat the hell out of you then?" She says, "Oh, that was when I told him I had AIDS." At a university, there was a dean who cared about others and showed exemplary behavior. One day, an angel appeared at a faculty conference. The angel said as a reward for his good deeds that God would give him his choice of eternal riches, eternal wisdom, or eternal beauty. The dean chose eternal wisdom without hesitation. "Good," said the angel, disappearing into a cloud of smoke. Everyone present turned their gazes to the dean, who was illuminated by a faint halo. A colleague whispered, "Tell me something." The dean, who had gained eternal wisdom, sighed and said, "I should have chosen eternal riches." Joe has been seeing a psychoanalyst for 4 years for treatment of the fear that he had monsters under his bed. It had been years since he had gotten a good night's sleep. Furthermore, his progress was very poor, and he knew it. So one day, he stops seeing the psychoanalyst and decides to try something different. A few weeks later, Joe's former psychoanalyst meets his old client in the supermarket and is surprised to find him looking well-rested, energetic, and cheerful. "Doc," Joe says, "it's amazing. I'm cured." "That's great news," the psychoanalyst says. "You seem to be doing much better." "How?" "I went to see another doctor," Joe says enthusiastically, "and he cured me in just 1 session." "One?" the psychoanalyst asks incredulously. "Yeah," continues Joe, "my new doctor is a behaviorist." "A behaviorist?" the psychoanalyst asks. "How did he cure you in 1 session?" "Oh, easy," says Joe. "He told me to cut the legs off of my bed." A professor calls pencils down, and one student keeps writing. When the student goes to turn in his exam, the professor tells him, "I'm not going to accept this. You didn't put your pencil down when I said to." "Do you have any idea who I am?" the student says snobbily. "I don't have the slightest idea who you are, and I don't care," the professor retorted. "Good," the student replied as he slipped his exam into the middle of the stack and walked away. A woman is at her boyfriend's parents' house for dinner. This is her first time meeting the family, and she is very nervous. They all sit down and begin eating a fine meal. The woman is beginning to feel a little discomfort, thanks to her nervousness and the broccoli casserole. The gas pains are making her eyes water. Left with no other choice, she decides to relieve herself a bit and lets out a dainty fart. It wasn't loud, but everyone at the table heard the poof. Before she even had a chance to be embarrassed, her boyfriend's father looked over at the cat that had been snoozing at the woman's feet and said in a rather stern voice, "Bubbles." The woman thought, "This is great," and a big smile came across her face. A couple of minutes later, she was beginning to feel the pain again. This time, she didn't even hesitate. She let a much louder and longer fart rip. The father again looked and the cat and yelled, "Damn it, Bubbles!" Once again, the woman smiled and thought, "Yes." A few minutes later, the woman had to let another one rip. This time, she didn't even think about it. She let rip a fart that rivaled a train whistle blowing. Once again, the father looked at the cat with disgust and yelled, "Damn it, Bubbles, get away from her before she shits on you." One of the British national daily newspapers was asking readers what it means to be British. Some of the emails were hilarious, but this one from a Swiss was a winner. Being British is about driving in a German car to an Irish pub for a Belgian beer, then traveling home, grabbing an Indian curry or a Turkish kebab on the way, to sit on a Swedish furniture and watch American shows on a Japanese TV. He buys a holiday home in Spain, skis in France, fancies Swedish birds, and has a Romanian au pair. And the most British thing of all? Suspicious of anything foreign. A 75-year-old man walked into a crowded doctor's waiting room and approached the desk. The receptionist said, "Yes, sir, what are you seeing the doctor for today?" "There's something wrong with my dick," he replied. The receptionist became irritated and said, "You shouldn't come into a crowded waiting room and say things like that." "Why not?" "You asked me what was wrong and I told you," he said. The receptionist replied, "Now you have caused some needless embarrassment in this room full of people. You should have said there is something wrong with your ear or something and discussed the problem further with the doctor in private." The man replied, "You should not ask people questions in a room full of strangers if the answer could embarrass anyone." The man then decided to walk out, waited several minutes, and then re-entered. The receptionist smiled smugly and asked, "Yes?" "There's something wrong with my ear," he stated loudly. The receptionist nodded approvingly and smiled, knowing he had taken her advice. "What is wrong with your ear, sir?" "I can't piss out of it," he replied. A Russian border patrol walks down the line, expecting a quiet evening when suddenly he sees something dangling from a tree. Someone hung himself right there, at the border. He calls his partner. "Ivan, come quick, there's someone hanging from the tree. Someone committed suicide right here at the border." "What? Oh, please, no. The paperwork, and in 30 minutes we'd be relieved, and I want to go on vacation. Come on, help me. We take him down and hang him over to the Polish side. Let them deal with the guy." And they do. They cut down the corpse and carry it over the few yards past the border to tie him back up onto a Polish tree. Quickly they walk on and finish their patrol. Not even an hour later, a Polish patrol comes along. The guard sees something dangle in the wind. He pauses, stares at it wide-eyed, and yells, "I can't believe it, Miroslav, come quick! He is back!" Two guys, one old-timer and one in his mid-20s, are pushing their carts around Lowe's when they collide. The old-timer says to the young guy, "Sorry about that. I'm looking for my wife, and I guess I wasn't paying attention to where I was going. The young guy says, That's a funny coincidence. I'm looking for my wife, too. I can't find her, and I'm getting a little desperate. The old guy says, Well, maybe we can help each other. What does your wife look like? The young guy says, Well, she is 24 years old, tall, with blonde hair, big blue eyes, long legs, big and she's wearing tight white shorts, a halter top, and no bra. What does your wife look like? The old-timer says, Doesn't matter, let's look for yours. Two brothers are in their room one morning. The older brother says, Billy, we have grown. We're practically men. So today when we go downstairs for breakfast, I'm gonna say hell and you're gonna say ass. Illy nods his head in excitement, and they go downstairs. The boys sit at the table and their mom greets them. Good morning, boys. What would y'all like for breakfast? Billy looks at his older brother, who smiles and throws his arm over the backrest and says, hell, Mom, make it Cheerios. Their mom turns around and chases him up the stairs, spanking him the whole way. When she returns, she looks at Billy and says, And what would you like, my little angel? Billy nervously replies, I don't know, but you can bet your it ain't Cheerios. Tom was famous with his amazing drawing skills. One day he drew a $100 bill on the desk of his teacher. Once the lady entered to the class, immediately noticed that and started tearing it. After 10 minutes, she ended up breaking her acrylic nails. Tom, get the hell out of here. I need your father right away, yelled the teacher. 30 minutes later, the father came and asked, What's wrong, ma'am? She told him the story, and he answered ironically, You're so lucky. Thanks God that I'm still alive. One time he drew his mother's private part on the electrical outlet.